we're at the end of season 2 of 2023. So let's do as we, I guess twice is a tradition. So let's do it. Let's review the year that was 2023, Charlie.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. I can't wait for our first 2-hour video.
Yeah. Let's start in the world of politics. Some of the biggest stories, Charlie. Donald Trump indicted 4 times, probably the biggest story, on 91 counts in New York for payoffs to Stormy Daniels, in Florida for taking classified documents, in D.C. for trying to overthrow the government, and in Georgia for trying to overturn the 2020 election. What else happened in politics, Charlie?
Yeah, just for those who were not checking out our podcast or did not hear the news when it came out. The thing about in Florida was discussing him taking classified documents from the White House and bringing them to his house in Florida, which, as you can imagine, you're not supposed to do that.
Nope.
I think the one in D.C. and in Georgia is pretty evident. And Colin, do you care to explain who Stormy Daniels is and why that's a big deal?
Yeah, she's the porn star that Trump raped and then paid a bunch of money to be quiet about it in the lead up to the 2016 election after the Access Hollywood tapes had come out. But then, Charlie, then some big political news in Congress. Kevin McCarthy, his continuous battle for the speakership.
The destruction of Kevin McCarthy.
Yes, it took 15 ballots in January. He eventually got elected. It was vacated in October. It took Republicans 3 weeks to decide on a new speaker, which ended up being Mike Johnson, then McCarthy resigning from Congress in December. Another big drama on Capitol Hill was George Santos, the serial liar who lied about just about everything in his life. I mean, we're going to lose some pretty incredible content with George Santos, who was indicted, expelled, and is now on Cameo, as of course he is.
Yeah, so unfortunately, one of our easiest topics to laugh at is gone. Oh well. Let's move on to Ron DeSantis. Has anything gone right for him so far in his bid for the 2024 election?
No, it started out looking like he had a real shot at the nomination, but his campaign, from the moment he launched it, it's just imploded. It's been disaster after disaster. And the Republican primary polls show that Trump is still clearly the face of the Republican Party as he continues to act like a dictator, saying immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country and calling opponents vermin. Meanwhile, abortion, Charlie, continues to be a winning issue for Democrats, whereas the Supreme Court keeps doubling down on siding with the right, including overturning affirmative action. As the U.S., Charlie, we narrowly avoided a debt default amid congressional chaos and military promotions. They've been held up for months by Tommy Tuberville. And then, Charlie, we've had roughly 600 mass shootings and counting in the states this year. What else happened in the political world?
I mean, I want to go back to the Tommy Tuberville point, because, I mean, that is just ridiculous. There were so many positions that were held up because of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's move on. Tucker Carlson is gone.
Yes, he is. Fired from Fox News.
We had a couple of banks that just decided to just collapse. Silicon Valley earlier in the year, and that sparked a couple of other banks to collapse, which really generated some big fears of major economic damage. However, it appears, as we stated earlier, with the stock market and inflation cooling, that appears to have not caused too much damage in the long run. A train derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, leaving multiple toxic chemicals, and the cleanup efforts there, I believe, are still ongoing.
Yes, they are. There were some big lawsuits that were resolved in 2023. Trump was found liable in a defamation and rape civil case. Fox settled with Dominion Voting Systems for $787 million. Rudy Giuliani was ordered to pay election workers $148 million, as we already discussed. And Charlie, finally, in big politics stories, Tennessee, their legislature tried to kick out black legislatures for peacefully protesting. Charlie, what happened around the world this year?
Oh, do not get me started on that one. So,
go ahead.
Believing that the world did not have enough war in it, a new conflict had sparked in the Middle East after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, starting a war that is still ongoing to this day as Israel continues its operations in Gaza to try to root out Hamas. Meanwhile, the other major war, Russia-Ukraine, has seemed to reach a stalemate as now both sides really can't do anything. Ukraine's still waiting on U.S. aid, which is still stuck in Congress, and Russia does not seem to have the ability to advance. They have made small gains over the last few months and have blunted that Ukrainian offensive over the summer. But now, as the winter sets in, there's people questioning what comes next.
Yeah, yep, exactly. Argentina, as we discussed earlier, they elected a far right leader amid record inflation in the country. The U.S. shot down a Chinese spy balloon, which caused a lot of panic for a couple months as Elon Musk continued to implement new policies at Twitter that have devalued the company significantly. King Charles was coronated, and there's been lots of chaos at OpenAI with the firing and then rehiring of Sam Altman as the CEO, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, just a crazy world, crazy events and year around the world. Now let's get to sports, and I'm just looking about just how long this section is. So let's get right into it.
It was a busy
Spain
year in
won.
sports.
Spain won one of the greatest Women's World Cups of all time. There were so many upsets. Every single time I checked that, it was this team took down this team, which was totally unexpected. No one expected that. And then the very next day, it would happen again. The U.S., of course, having a disastrous exit in the round of 16. And this continues the rise of women's sports around the world. Let's get to college sports.
Yeah,
The Pac-12 is gone, now to be relabeled as the Pac-2, after everyone except Washington State and Oregon State have left.
yeah, it's been crazy the amount of conference realignment that we've seen with, like you said, every team there going elsewhere. And yeah, you mentioned the rise of women's sports. I mean, there's so many stories that we'll get to in a minute, in just how well women's sports really did this year. Charlie, let's go back to the beginning of the year. One of the most tragic sporting events or sporting moments of the year, with Damar Hamlin having to be revived on field with CPR after suffering cardiac arrest. And then the Oakland A's, they announced a plan to move to Las Vegas coming up in the next couple of years. Now, Charlie, you want to get to telling us about some champions?
Yeah, let's get to it. For the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs won, or arguably won, the Super Bowl after a very bad holding call. I will still not
Sure,
forgive them for that. The
sure.
Texas Rangers won their first World Series after taking down the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Denver Nuggets won their first NBA Finals. The Vegas Knights won their first Stanley Cup. A lot of firsts. A lot of
Lot
firsts.
of firsts.
Georgia won their
Also,
second straight NCAA football championship. They are no longer in the playoffs as of this year's playoffs. The Las Vegas Aces won their
correct.
second straight WNBA title. UConn won one of the most insane NCAA tournaments, maybe the most ever.
I
And
don't know if
Caitlin
I'll go
Clark and
that far.
Iowa spoiled
2021 was really crazy.
South Carolina's women's perfect season. However, South Carolina would still go on, would still do pretty well, but it still ended up losing. Anyway, because
Yeah,
they ended up
and Angel
losing
Reese.
and yeah, they still ended up losing to LSU in the championship.
Yeah, but Caitlin Clark may be now the most prominent figure in women's sports, which she's done in the sport of college women's basketball is just crazy. Well, Lionel Messi, he has come to the United States, led Inter Miami to a Leagues Cup title and a huge revival, I guess, of soccer in the United States, gaining popularity now that arguably the greatest player of all time is here in the US. In tennis, Novak Djokovic won 3 of the 4 slams, but he lost to Carlos Alcaraz in the Wimbledon final in one of the all-time matches, one of the truly the greatest tennis matches of all time. It's right up there as Alcaraz's status in the sport continues its meteoric rise. And Coco Gauff winning the U.S. Open, truly breaking onto the scene officially after a phenomenal.
And the Lakers won the inaugural NBA Cup, a new tournament style bracket introduced into the middle of the NBA season. We also had some major retirements this year. Tom Brady, J.J. Watt in football, Miguel Cabrera for baseball, and Megan Rapinoe for women's soccer. We also had a golf merger, whoever cares about golf here. The PGA and Live Golf, Live Golf being the major Saudi Arabian golf tour, merged together. Man City won the UEFA Champions League, and Ohtani signed with the Dodgers for $700 million. That's not the only Ohtani-related thing that happened this year. The World Baseball Classic. The final came down to Mike Trout versus Shohei Ohtani on the mound. Ohtani struck out Trout to win the World Baseball Classic for Japan. Let's get some Formula One. Max Verstappen cannot be stopped. He completed the most
No, he
dominant
can't.
Formula One season of all time, completely demolishing anyone. And now there's some real questions about can anyone compete with him as we head into next season. Team Europe destroyed Team USA in the Ryder Cup, as well as the Boston Bruins set the NHL points record. However, they crashed out of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We have Brittany
Yeah.
Griner, who was imprisoned in Russia, returned to the WNBA and to the United States earlier this year. And Purdue, speaking of crashing out, Purdue collapsed against 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson in the NCAA tournament, becoming only the second 1 seed to lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Victor
Just a
Wembanyama,
disaster.
one of the most hyped prospects that we've seen in a very long time, joined the San Antonio. And known terrible person, Dan Snyder, finally sold the Washington Commanders. And
Yeah,
the
and
Oklahoma,
meanwhile, Oklahoma's their softball team, 53 straight wins en route to a championship. It's just historic. And then again in women's sports, Nebraska's women's volleyball, they set an attendance record with over 90,000 fans in attendance. And then in kind of a mix of sports and pop culture, Travis Kelce started dating Taylor Swift. And speaking of some pop culture in 2023, it wasn't a great year for pop culture, but again, with Taylor Swift, her tour, it revived economies in cities around the country as her status rose, one of the most famous people in the world now. Titan submarine had imploded at the bottom of the ocean, and Barbenheimer caused a box office craze, Charlie.
Yes, it did. Let's get to our in memoriam section. I will list off the name. Colin will give you a little bit more information on exactly who they were. Rosalynn Carter.
Yep, former First Lady of the United States, married to Jimmy Carter.
Sandra Day O'Connor.
Former first female Supreme Court Justice in U.S. history.
Dianne Feinstein.
A massive figure in politics, senator from California for a long, long time.
Matthew Perry.
An actor in the TV series Friends and beloved by many.
Tina Turner.
A legendary singer.
Norman Lear.
Legendary person in the television industry.
Bob Barker.
Longtime host of The Price is Right, I believe.
Harry Belafonte.
A singer and an actor.
Bob Knight.
Legendary basketball coach.
Jim Brown.
Legendary NFL football player.
Tim Wakefield.
A legendary pitcher. Lots of
Brooks
legends.
Robinson.
Another legend, the Baltimore Oriole infielder for a long time.
Dick Butkus.
NFL player.
The Bears actually getting their first win of the year on the day that he died.
Yes, I believe that is correct. And then Ron Cephas Jones, an actor, as well as Sinead O'Connor, another singer. And Charlie, as well as so many other people that we lost along the way that we just don't have time to name, but may all of them rest in peace.
Yeah, now it's time for the favorite part of our show, where Colin and I see just how bad we are at predicting things. If you'll remember, in the first episode of the year, we made some predictions about various numbers of politics and sports things, and let's see how wrong we were, because we will be doing this again. We will be doing this again at the start of season 3.
Yeah, let's play that clip for you right now.
Let's move on to some predictions for what's coming up in 2023, Charlie. And let's start with who will be Speaker of the House of Representatives at the end of 2023.
I have no idea. I don't know if I can answer that one. I would say probably McCarthy, but I just don't know.
Oh no, McCarthy's not winning the Speaker. It's not happening. He's never going to get the votes. And I realize that I'm going to look like a complete idiot if an hour after this episode gets put out, he suddenly gets the votes, but he's not going to get the votes.
Colin, I actually have a question for you about that. So if it just stays locked and they keep having this, could this theoretically go on forever?
Well, until the end of the next Congress when they all get voted out.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
It'd be the most useless Congress of all time. Imagine for a
How-
second, though, Charlie, this was to happen in 2025, when on January 6th, the Congress would have to certify the election results.
Oh, that wouldn't be good.
Imagine if Congress literally wasn't a functioning entity at that point.
That would be very bad.
Yeah.
All right. How about what you got for your Super Bowl prediction?
Chiefs. I've
Who
changed
did they beat?
Oh, I don't know. No one. The NFC's irrelevant.
I'm gonna say
No, Chiefs over 49ers in the same result as 3 years ago.
I'm gonna say Bills over Niners.
Okay. But oh yeah, no. Who I have as Speaker of the House? We'll say Steve Scalise.
All
So,
right.
all right. Who do you think will be the leading candidate for the Democrats and the Republicans for the presidential nomination at the end of 2023?
Biden and DeSantis.
I'm gonna go Biden and Trump on this one.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think that while Trump may be losing some support and relevance in the top-ranking Republicans, he still has the base, and that matters.
It does.
But what do you think will be the state of Russia-Ukraine at the end of the year?
I don't know. Hopefully the war is over with Ukraine winning, but I just don't know.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that the war won't be over, but Ukraine will have recaptured all of its territory that they lost, and Putin will still be trying to do something. I don't know what. But and more sports predictions. We've already done the college football playoff, but what do you think about college basketball? Who ends up winning the NCAA tournament?
Oh, it's a difficult one. I don't know. I'll just go. I don't know, I'll say I Houston or Gonzaga. That's my
Yeah, I was
two.
going to say Houston, and it's in Final Four, I believe, this year in Houston as well. About the World Series this year.
I want to say it, but I can't
Say it.
Seattle.
Say it.
Bishop. All right. Well, you're not going to be happy with this. I'm going to say Astros win it again.
Oh God.
I'm going to say Astros Phillies rematch. Astros win it again.
I want to say the Seattle Mariners so badly.
Well, that's what I wanted to say, but they're not going to do it, man.
Something tells me the Mets, but then I remember that it's the Mets.
It's the Mets.
So I'm gonna go the San Diego Padres.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Why?
Who wins because they're looking good.
All right. But then who gets there from the NL? For the AL, sorry.
AL? Probably the Astros. The AL isn't particularly good right now.
I hate the fact that the Astros are in the AL. Why couldn't they have just stayed where they were?
Stayed in the NL? Yeah, I know.
So much better.
What about the NBA Finals? Who's gonna win?
Not the Warriors.
I know.
I'm gonna go Cleveland.
The Cavaliers, that's a good one. Donovan Mitchell has definitely been making a difference for them. Just dropped 71 Monday night. That's ridiculous. But part of me wants to say the Brooklyn Nets because they're really good, but I feel like the distractions will find a way to crop up again. I'm gonna go the Boston Celtics. I think that they're especially motivated this year. I think that they're gonna get back to the finals. I think they're gonna win the finals.
All right. We're running out of leagues. Oh, Stanley Cup. Who you got?
The Seattle Kraken.
Genuinely, man?
I think they'll make the playoffs. And once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. But
I'm taking Boston.
I don't follow hockey closely enough, but I'm gonna say the Kraken. So, Charlie, what a time right now. We live in Seattle. What a time to be a Seattle sports fan.
Yeah, our football team didn't implode. Our baseball team's actually good for once, and our hockey team's good somehow.
Yeah, I mean, all three of those teams, they're good, and they're getting better.
And the Storm are good, are made the playoffs as usual. The Sounders need to fix what they're doing, but then they'll be fine.
The Huskies in non-professional sports, in terms of football at least, are going to be really good next year. Seattle's got the MLB All-Star Game coming to town in July this year, and January of next year, the NHL Winter Classic is coming to Seattle.
And we have a top 5 draft pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah, probably.
Thanks, Denver.
All right, so yeah, Charlie, you can see, just if you know what happened, I mean, those predictions were very, very wrong. Let's start, Charlie, with that Speaker of the House prediction.
We were both wrong for very different reasons.
I picked Steve Scalise. I didn't think McCarthy would be elected in the first place, though. So, I mean, I wasn't that far off. I don't see how you could pick Mike Johnson, though. He was just kind of a nobody at the beginning of the year. Charlie, meanwhile, you guessing McCarthy, though, really,
I did seem kind of unsure about it. I didn't really know, but it turned out no, definitely not. Now let's get to the Super Bowl. And Colin, you were right. Wrong opponent.
Yep.
I had the wrong opponent and the wrong winner because, oh my God, Buffalo just can't do it in the playoffs.
No, they cannot. We both picked the 49ers to lose the Super Bowl. Didn't quite get that far, though. I'll still maintain that they would have if Purdy had not gotten hurt. As for leading presidential candidates, I was pretty sure it would be Biden and Trump. Charlie, you were audibly surprised by this. And
yes, because I thought DeSantis would do a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, it's a character problem with him, and it's why he's not doing anything.
One of the main points
we were wrong by a lot.
One of the points I was bringing up early in the year was certainly the fact that he was up for election in 2022, and he won by quite a bit.
It is true. So, I mean, like his prospects are 10,000 times worse today than they were at the beginning of 2023. He fell very far, very fast over the course of just one calendar year.
Let's get to the Russia-Ukraine. Yeah, let's get to the state of Russia-Ukraine. You said that you thought that Ukraine would recapture their territory, but the war wouldn't be over. Well, you're right on one of the points.
The war would not be over. Ukraine regained some of their territory, but they still have a long way to go, and we'll see how much support the West continues to provide.
I didn't know. I hoped the war would be over, but it still continues into 2024. Now let's get to the NCAA tournament, because geez, this did not go very well.
No, I picked Houston. You went with Houston or Gonzaga. Neither of them even made the Final Four.
Now let's get to the World Series, and I know you've been dreading this one. You picked the Padres or the Mets.
Over the Astros.
Yeah. To be fair, I was also wrong. I picked the Astros over the Phillies, a rematch of last year, which both the teams did make the championship series, but did lose.
Yeah, I also said that the AL isn't very good right now. That just was false.
The AL has the World Series right now.
I did not see the Rangers coming. I did not see the Rays coming or the Orioles. I mean, all three of them had big seasons that I just could not have possibly predicted. I mean, it was they were. I mean, some of them were surprising. Some of them we maybe should have seen coming. But either way, a big year for all three of those teams.
Absolutely. Now, let's get to the NBA Finals, because we were both wrong again for different reasons. You picked the Celtics, and I picked the Cavaliers. I picked the Cavaliers, however, right after they were on a pretty big win streak, and didn't one of the players drop 71 like 2 days before?
Donovan Mitchell
dropped 71.
71. Yeah. Now the Celtics, they came close at least to making the NBA Finals, but they did not come close enough. And then in the Stanley Cup, I picked the Kraken because why not? They did indeed make the playoffs.
I made the smart decision that ended up not working.
Yeah, I mean, I would not have been surprised at all had the Bruins won, because, I mean, they set the NHL point record, but it did not come together for them in the playoffs. And then finally, Charlie, we both thought that Seattle sports would be really, really good in 2023. We were right about the Huskies, wrong about just about everyone else.
Not necessarily. The Seahawks still have a chance. We can get rid of the Mariners and the Kraken and the Storm from this list. The Huskies are good. Great, in fact. The Seahawks have a chance to make the playoffs. The Mariners have no future. I have not heard any news about the Kraken except them losing for 2 months, and I have not heard anything about the Storm this entire year.
Yeah, no, the Storm were very bad. They lost Sue Bird. They lost Breanna Stewart to the New York Liberty. Not good for Seattle sports, with the exception of the Huskies and maybe the Seahawks. Well, again, that remains to be seen. Charlie, we've just finished up our second season of doing this podcast. What are your thoughts on this podcast as we end season 2 and enter season 3 as we look back on what we did on this podcast this year?
I mean, first of all, I just want to thank everyone that listens to this podcast. We wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for you guys. And I just wanted to focus something. At the beginning of this year, we had basically nothing. We had very little. This year we have seen in terms of percentages, we have seen massive growth across the board. And really, you just again, we just wanted to thank you. This would not be possible. We are so happy with the growth from this year to last year, and we can only hope that we can continue to do that into 2024. We'll have a bunch of new after hours. We'll keep doing what we're doing here on the podcast. We got a bunch of new stuff coming for next year, and we're really excited for you guys to come check it out.
Yeah, Charlie, it really has been a great year. There were times this year that were tough for us just with our schedules and various things, and there were times when we thought, like, truly about potentially putting a pause on it for a month or two, and I'm so glad that we didn't, because I mean, we've had a lot of fun recording episodes. It's been great seeing how much this has grown, and here's hoping that growth continues into 2023. The After Hours series that Charlie has been doing on YouTube has just done phenomenally. We're so thankful for everyone listening. We're so thankful that we were able to finally get a real guest on the podcast with Tyden Gonzalez coming on the podcast this year. We're really thankful for him for joining us, and we hope to do more interviews like that in the future as we hopefully continue to grow, as well as we'd like to thank everyone, our entire staff here at the podcast for doing so much to make this season happen and really make the whole thing happen. We've launched a Discord server that we hope everyone joins. It's truly been a phenomenal year for us, and here's to many more. Charlie, what are your final thoughts as we finish off this 2023 and head into 2024?
I mean, yeah, thank you on the boards. Thanks for you for being my partner on this show. Thanks to our editors who make this whole thing possible, and just again to our audience for just having our backs this entire way. We got a bunch of stuff coming, and we can't wait for you to see what we're ready for next year. So that'll do it from me. Colin, let's lead us out one final time in 2023.
Hey, I got to give my final thoughts on the year.
Yeah, do you?
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I do. Because I have some. 2023, I think, will be looked back on as a very important year in history. 2022, in terms of politics at least, it will be seen kind of as the year of investigation. 2023 is the year where accountability truly began. We've seen Trump finally starting to get indicted. Kevin McCarthy, he's been ousted after sucking up to Trump for a long time. George Santos, it's been proven that lying your way into Congress will not create a favorable outcome. And this has truly been a year of accountability. All of the people being forced to pay a lot of money for their lies. Alex Jones, another example back at the end of 2022. And that is huge. And that is not to say that we as a country, as a society, do not have a long way to go to help fix our society and make it work for everyone. But 2023, we took some huge steps, and that is how I hope this year will be remembered. Again, Charlie, really, I'm so thankful for you to our entire staff. We're so thankful that we've been able to talk about it to everyone here listening this entire year. Truly, we are really grateful. But yeah, that's going to do it for one final time this season at C&C Talks. So make sure that you subscribe to the podcast because we have episodes that are going to be coming out every single week or for 40 times in the year 2024, season 3 of the podcast, anywhere that you listen to podcasts: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else that may be, which you can find out all that information on our website, cctalks.com. As well as you can, as always, call us with your questions to be featured on the show, 360-389-2630. Again, that's 360-389-2630. We really hope that we're getting some calls this season or next season, and you can make sure to follow us on Twitter, X, or whatever it should be called going forward, at CC Talks Podcast. And of course, Charlie can be followed as well there at CC Talks Charlie. And again, like I mentioned a few moments ago, we added a Discord server this year. We really hope everyone can join us there so that we can interact with all of you guys who are online. You can join that at cctalks.com/Discord. All of this information, as always, is in the description. Again, we're going to be off for a couple weeks, set some things, recharge. We'll be back with the premiere of season 3 on January 4th, and you can make sure to find some highlight videos on our YouTube channel in the meantime. But for the final time this season, for our producer Morris, our production designer Zack, our sound designer Drake, I'm Colin.
And I'm Charlie. Have a happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.